Hi everyone, in today's speed build, I'm doing something really different in my voiceover as opposed to the actual build, but I will just do a brief description of the build before I get into my kind of story time, I guess. This build was inspired by a picture of a home that I found on mapcrunch.com. And the idea of trying to find something to build like as inspiration from mapcrunch.com came from a friend of mine. She has a YouTube channel also. I'll link her channel in the description down below so you can check her out. She's Nerdieth, I believe is how you say it, here on YouTube. So yeah, she came up with a kind of build challenge where you use like the Google Maps to do a random pick of like any street or whatever in the world, and then based on where, like whatever it shows you, you try to find inspiration from the buildings that are around to do the build of. I found this really cute like kind of farmhouse in I believe Ontario, and so I thought it was perfect to do a kind of fall themed build. So I kind of copied it, like I kind of did like a real to Sims type of thing, except for I don't know what the floor plan is in the actual home or anything like that. And I did kind of change it up a little bit to make it look, I guess, better in my opinion anyway, like as with the chimney and things like that. Like I just kind of changed it a little bit, and I'll put up a picture of the original so you can see what I was looking at when I was building this. But anyways, today I wanted to kind of explain to you guys why I'm with my ex-husband. And because a lot of times when people get divorced, they do that because they don't want to be together anymore. But me and my husband, we go way back, and we actually met when we were 13 years old in middle school. I had actually moved, so we live here in Guam, right? And I had moved here in 1999 when I was in 7th grade, and it was the end of the school year already. So I was the new girl and everything, and I was always really shy, didn't really talk to a lot of people. And then, come the start of 8th grade, I still don't really know a whole lot of people, but I had like almost all my classes with my husband, or what would soon, or well, years later end up being my husband. But it's so hard to explain this. Okay, so we had a bunch of classes together, but I didn't really talk too much because I was still the new girl, and he was like really well known because he was really friendly and everybody loved him and everything. There was this guy that I had a huge crush on that, I mean, granted it's 8th grade, so it's whatever, it's, silly kid stuff, but we started dating, and like maybe a week or two later, he broke up with me because it turns out it was more of like a pity type of thing. Like he just felt bad for me, and really he liked my friend, and so he was just trying to like use me to get closer to her. And I was devastated, and I was crying my eyes out in like all my classes that day that he broke up with me. And so my would-be future husband, Kyle is his name, Kyle started talking to me and making me laugh because I was sad and crying, and he's a really funny guy, and so he used his sense of humor to put a smile on my face when I really needed it. And like from that day forward, we were inseparable. Like we were always together. He always walked me to my classes. I mean, we had all of our classes together except for our electives, so it's not like we saw each other the entire day or anything like that, but we did see each other every day in most of our classes. And we were best friends. Like I always, like, he was my best friend. And then even when we went to high school, we were really close. We didn't have as many classes together, so we kind of drifted apart in that way, like just not seeing each other so much, but we still like talked all the time. Like he would always call me or I'd call him. Like I had his phone number memorized, his grandma's phone number memorized, like we talked to each other all the time. And my dad was in the military, so we moved a lot. So after a couple of years of being here in Guam, it was the start of our junior year in high school, and I actually had to move to Virginia because my dad got, his next orders to go there. So me and my family moved to Virginia, and I finished high school while I was there. And I didn't get to talk to Kyle a whole lot while I was there, but we did email since it cost money to actually call each other on the phone, because there wasn't WhatsApp and things like that back then, but because we graduated in 2004. But like we still kept in close contact, and I still considered him my best friend. And it's funny because when I actually went to go get my first checking account, the PIN number for my debit card I made was his name. It was Kyle, Kyle, on the number pad thing, whatever. But yeah, so like that's how much he meant to me. Like I just always thought about him, and it was just a good way for me to remember my PIN is just think of Kyle. I actually stayed in Virginia for an extra year after I graduated high school because at the time I had a girlfriend and I was living with her at her mom's house. But that relationship quickly went down the drain, and I ended up moving back here to Guam in 2005, in August of 2005, and I surprised Kyle, and because he was working, because he still lived here the whole time, and he was working at the commissary up on the Air Force Base because his dad was in the military too. And funny side note, not only were me and Kyle best friends like since 8th grade, but we found out also like at our 8th grade promotion thing or whatever, because our parents went to it, and turns out that his dad and my dad were friends in middle school too. So that was always like such a funny thing to me. But anyways, so I moved back here in 2005 and surprised Kyle, and he was, oh my goodness, like I'll never forget the look on his face when he saw me, because I just showed up to his work. He didn't know I was coming, nothing. I made sure that I didn't give anything away. Because my parents actually moved back here to Guam after my dad retired from the Air Force while I was in Virginia. So I was there by myself, and they all came back here. So when I moved back here, I was staying with my parents again. But me and Kyle started hanging out, as soon as I came back, because I was here, we were best friends, and and I always told him I loved him. And actually a funny thing though is that I never really thought of him as like someone I would date necessarily, because he was my best friend. But at the same time, I always knew that if I was to marry anyone, it would be him. And I actually told that to my parents like when I was 15, and I don't know what we were talking about, but they just said something about like if I was to marry someone, like who it would be, and I said the only person I would marry is Kyle. And so yeah, so we started hanging out, and at the time we were 19, and we just went like from friends to being together, like being a couple. And then I ended up getting pregnant and we had our first son when we were 20, which was just a year after I moved back here. So we were together. We weren't married yet. We didn't get married until our son was 9 months old already. And after 4 years of marriage, okay, and also you have to understand that I didn't realize how young we were. Like when this was all happening and everything, I'm thinking, oh, I'm 20, I'm 21, I'm so grown up, whatever. But you don't actually realize how young that age is until you are older. You know what I'm saying? So it was just like one of those things where I wasn't mature enough to be getting married and starting a family, but I didn't think that at the time, obviously. But we, like, after 4 years of marriage, like, it was just hard for us. We were young, we were hot-headed a lot, and even though we were best friends, even when we got married and everything, things don't always work out the way you want it to. And like any couple, we had our issues, and there was just certain things that we couldn't really work through, and I wasn't really a very good wife at all, and which is like it's embarrassing to say, but it's just we needed to be apart, and we ended up getting divorced in 2011. Yeah, we got divorced in 2011. And then after being separated for a year, like I got my own place and everything, And at the time we had 2 kids because we had our daughter a year after being married. And so we had 2 kids, and it was literally the hardest year of my entire life. Like I mean, I wish I could take it back in a way, because I missed so much of my kids that year because I was working like 2 and 3 jobs just to support myself. But at the same time, it's something that needed to happen. And you know, and we grew, like, both as people, we grew a lot that year, and we ended up getting back together in 2012. And so after we got back together, you know, things were really good. We got pregnant again and ended up having another little boy. And so of course now we have 3 kids. But yeah, and it was just like, after we got back together that time, like, everything was just so much better. And we never got married again, but we've just been in a much better place, you know. And I think also the fact that we did grow up more, because it's been, you know, 10 years since we separated and everything. And so you know, not only are we more mature, but we understand each other better. We know how to be better, like, with our kids and things like that. It's just like a whole learning process kind of thing. So yeah, I guess that's kind of all the tea about me and my husband, or ex-husband. So technically, yeah, he is my ex-husband, but I just call him my husband because, I mean, we're together, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, even if we're not legally documented, whatever, married and everything, I feel like it doesn't really matter at this point, because as long as we have that commitment to each other, then that's what is important. So, but anyways, I don't know if I explained that story very well, but if you have any questions or comments about that, I guess be sure to leave it down below. And if it's, you know, something that I don't mind answering, of course I will answer it. But I am pretty much like an open book. I don't really mind telling people about my life. So, but I do have some ideas as far as like my next kind of story time for my voiceover, because of the fact that I was single for a year, or well, a good year and some months also. I do have some really interesting, weird stories about getting hit on during that time I was single. So I'm kind of looking forward to explaining that to you guys. But if you like this video, if you like the build, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to my channel, please, if you have not yet. And I have a really weird life, and so the more I open up to you guys about that, the more you might be interested in watching these videos. I don't know. But I think I'm just gonna go for now, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!